Godzilla is back again. The last film was intended to be the finale of the Heisei timeline, but they decided to keep going. Takao Okawara would not return to direct this film, and instead Kensho Yamashita would step up to the plate to take on this movie. Him and the screenwriter Hiroshi Kashiwabara were more experienced with teen idol films, however they both played small roles in the making of Terror of Mechagodzilla back in the day, so they weren't completely new to the franchise. The best way to describe this movie is that it feels like summer break. I mean, we go to a tropical island, there's action in space, and there's a crime family that shows up for some reason, and there's an adorable baby Godzilla. It's just a lot of fun. It's colorful, comedic, and entertaining. But that doesn't mean there aren't deeper themes in this movie, because of course there are. It's Godzilla. He never comes alone. He always has a metaphor with him. But before we get into that just yet, let's talk about the big guy himself. Godzilla transitions into becoming a savior for the world in this movie. It's taken this long, but now a new threat is introduced that is bigger than Godzilla and will destroy the world if not stopped by Godzilla. So there isn't as much nuance in the monster battles, nor can I find a strong metaphor in them, no unethical results of bioengineering, or the nationalistic past of Japan bubbling up again in the presence, nor even a criticism of space exploration. It just seems that for a long time someone wanted to have a Space Godzilla, and they finally got their chance. Which, fair enough, at the end of the movie, Mickey says she felt that Space Godzilla carried feelings, so they aren't just a complete monster, but nowhere near the nuance of Biollante, as in we aren't really meant to feel sympathy for this character. Poor Space Godzilla. Meanwhile, Godzilla is still the same Godzilla. He isn't trying to protect humanity, but just help his son. Speaking of which, this film is a lot lighter in tone. Junior gets trapped in crystals by Space Godzilla, and Godzilla attempts to free him. And that scene was cut because it was deemed too serious, which the suit actor Kenpachiro Satsuma disagreed with. It doesn't damage the movie irreparably, but it might have helped the pacing a bit in this scene, and not to mention, it makes sense for Godzilla to attempt to free his son, but I digress. Now let's get into the human cast. We mentioned Mickey, so next is Chinatsu Gando. Wait a minute, Gando? The character is the sister of Goro Gando, who died in 1989's Godzilla vs. Biollante. Not to mention Yuki was best friends with Gando. Him and Chinatsu both want to kill Godzilla out of revenge for what Godzilla did to Goro. Just a little side note, but I'm not actually sure the Godzilla they are fighting against really killed Gando in 1989, since all those time travel antics. Not that that really matters here at all. They very clearly want revenge on something for what happened, and Godzilla is the face of that. And then after that is Koji Shinjo, whom enters into something of a romance with Mickey, and his best friend, Kiyoshi Sato. In this movie, Mickey is now completely against killing Godzilla. She does get hired for a mission to try to control Godzilla's mind using her powers, but she doesn't believe this will work, nor does she find it very ethical, but she agrees to the mission anyway. And look at that, the Cosmos return as well, to warn Mickey that a monster from space is heading towards Earth. Another tangent here, but I'm really appreciating how these movies are connecting here. The show films never went as far as the Heisei films did in bringing its events together, and actually have them build off each other. For example, we know Godzilla's cells got into space either from their battle with Mothra or Biollante, a neat way to show their consequences to a Godzilla fight, and the Cosmos are iconic anyway, so it's nice to see them again, especially since they are warning everyone about the incoming monster, even though Earth has not always been the kindest to them. Even General Asa returns, and we see more characterization from him, as he worries about Yuki's well-being. Anyway, Mickey's feelings are in sharp contrast to Yuki, who is set on exterminating Godzilla. He has put together a concoction of chemicals to create a blood coagulant strong enough to kill the monster. And unlike Shin Godzilla, the characters do seem aware of how horrible a way to die that is. Anyway, Yuki knows of a weak spot on Godzilla and plans to hit him there. However, we see there's somewhat of a softness to Yuki despite his rough exterior. He seems to have a fondness for Junior, even though Junior is the son of Godzilla. And after the beach sequence, which by the way another tangent here, but I love the sequence on the beach. Yuki crawling on the ground in the foreground while Godzilla walks in the middle ground with the ocean behind them is an amazing and comical shot, and I love every second of it. Koji and Kiyoshi on the motorbike too, it's all amazing. But as I was saying, after the beach sequence, Spacegodzilla arrives and traps Junior. What I love about this is that Yuki gives up for the day, even though he can keep going, because he says Godzilla has had enough for one day. Later in the film, Yuki attempts to pilot the Moguera to attack Godzilla when it was sent to attack Spacegodzilla. This action costs a lot and is ultimately a bad thing. Koji and Kiyoshi subdue him to take control of the mission again. Yuki was so focused on exacting revenge on Godzilla that he was ignoring what was needed now. Revenge doesn't fix issues nor stop new ones. It's just trying to go back to the past and exact punishment without thought, without viewing the present situation and working for that. Meanwhile, Koji and Kiyoshi are on board as well with Yuki at the start, with killing Godzilla, but as Koji grows closer, his love for Mickey starts to overshadow his hatred of Godzilla, to the point that by the end he no longer cares to kill Godzilla. Even Yuki too, with Gondo, starts to see Godzilla in a new light. He isn't just a villainous monster, but a complex being with its own life. I guess the core of this movie is that love overpowers hate, and at the end, that is when all the characters are happy, when they are enjoying each other and Godzilla's presence. Except Kiyoshi. He has no love interest, so he just continues screaming at Godzilla. Playfully, though. So in the end, they all found their happiness. And honestly, I can see Kiyoshi and Godzilla being best friends. This film probably has the sappiest ending to any Heisei film, and I love it. Godzilla deals a lot with gloomy settings and dire circumstances, but I think it is okay to let ourselves be happy. This movie does it, and I like seeing new things tried. For a franchise going on 70 years, it's not only welcomed, but it is part of the reason Godzilla has lasted so long. Obviously, it is more directed at kids, but that is okay. Kids have always loved Godzilla, and they keep the franchise going, so they deserve a Godzilla movie. But I think all ages can love and appreciate this movie. It's a beautiful and colorful film, and while Ifukube doesn't compose the music, his themes are used, and I personally find the new themes by Takayuki Hattori as quite memorable and good too. And Hattori would be returning to the franchise soon, just not for the next movie, so stay tuned. And the ending song, Echoes of Love, is a good listen. I love seeing Godzilla return to his son and Mothra flying in space as it plays. The characters are strong, the cast is great. Overall, this is worth a watch. Anyway, that's all I got for today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.